Dear friends, welcome and welcome back to this series of 10 short video clips with the common topic of Jerusalem. Jerusalem celebrating 50 years of reunification on May 24, 2017. We want to invite you to be part of that celebration. Jerusalem is called the city of the great king. Jerusalem is the city of the valley of decision, and Jerusalem is the city of the return of Jesus. A unique city. It will be one day the capital of the world. And this immense meaning of Jerusalem, unique meaning of Jerusalem, was emphasized first by Jesus in our first clip. We have talked about it, calling it the city of the great king. And then we went through the history of Jerusalem, starting with Abraham in the time of Melchizedek, continuing in the time of David, continuing in the time of Jesus, continuing a short overview of the history of Jerusalem over the last 2,000 years. And now we're coming from history to the prophetic, from the past and the present to the future. Looking into the Bible as what it has to say about the future destiny of Jerusalem. And again, we start with Jesus. And two words that Jesus gave about the future of Jerusalem. The first one in the Gospel of Luke, the second one in the Gospel of Matthew. Let's start with Luke, and let's read verse 24. Where it says, that's the inhabitants of Jerusalem, they will fall by the sword and will be taken as prisoners to all the nations. Jerusalem will be trampled on by the Gentiles until the times of the Gentiles are fulfilled. And as we all know from history, this prophecy of Jesus, as far as his generation was concerned, was sadly fulfilled. The Jewish people were dispersed over all the nations by the Romans. The temple was destroyed. The city was destroyed. Jesus' prophecy was fulfilled to the letter. And then there is a seizure. In the middle of that verse, it says, until. And this makes a difference between the time of his generation and the time of the final generation, until the times of the Gentiles are fulfilled, which means until the times where Gentile nations, non-Jewish nations, were occupying Jerusalem will come to an end. And exactly as the first part of the prophecy was fulfilled in 70 AD, in 135 AD, the second part of the prophecy is being fulfilled in our time and generation. May 14, the first part of Jerusalem, as the state of Israel was reborn, the first part of Jerusalem came back under Jewish sovereignty. Then June 1967, the second part of Jerusalem came back under Jewish sovereignty, out of the rule of the Gentile nations, with the exception of the Temple Mount, which is the center of the final end-time spiritual conflict and the Middle East conflict, as it will become in due time a global conflict, as the Bible tells us. So we hear Jesus in his end-time messages. It's the end-time message that he's talking here in the version of Luke, how he speaks about Jerusalem. And we see it in our generation before our eyes, how the prophecy of Jesus is exactly being fulfilled. So that's part one, and part two is in a similar direction, talking about what will happen in the future in the context of Jerusalem. And there we also find this until. The first passage of the prophecy speaks to his generation. The last passage of this prophecy speaks to the last generation. And we read Matthew 23:37. O Jerusalem, Jerusalem, you who kill the prophets and stone those sent to you. How often I have longed to gather your children together, as a hen gathers her chicks under her wings, but you were not willing. Look, your house is left to you desolate. And this exactly was fulfilled in 135 AD, when Emperor Hadrian conquered Jerusalem, and he forbid any Jew to put his foot onto Jerusalem by sentence of death. Jerusalem was Judenrein. But then it goes on. For I tell you, you will not see me again until, and now it jumps to the last generation, until you say, blessed is he who comes in the name of the Lord. And that is a verse where Jesus is quoting a Psalm 118:26, a messianic greeting, a messianic welcome, the inhabitants of Jerusalem crying out, Baruch haba b'shem Adonai, be welcome Messiah. And then Jesus will come back. May the Lord bless you, and thank you for your attention. Dear praying friends of Israel and the Jewish people around the world, a very, very warm invitation to come to our next Global Prayer Call conference in Jerusalem around Yom Yerushalayim, Jerusalem Day, celebrating the 50th anniversary of the reunification of Jerusalem. Jerusalem, as all of you know, is a very significant city, the most important city in the world. The city of the great King, the city of the Valley of Decision, the city of the return of Jesus. In that city, starting in the evening of May 22 and finishing at the evening of May 25, in the beautiful Down Jerusalem Hotel on Mount Scopus, we will gather. We, intercessors from all around the world, will unite in praise, in celebration, in prayer, and in intercession. Excellent speakers and apostolic prophetic leaders from Africa, Asia, America, Australia, and Europe will be with us. It will be a unique experience, in a unique city, at a unique time. And for those of you who want to join us after the conference, the experience of worshiping, learning, and praying will continue at our guided geopolitical intercessory tour from May 26 to May 31. So once again, a very warm welcome to both the conference and the tour.